just getting set up with the YouTube feed. You can see a loading bar there, moving quite slowly. I gather we've got a couple of people that want to speak to us this morning. So what I'll do is I'll bring the relevant item forward on the agenda, if that's okay for everyone. Just so you're not all waiting till, I believe, the end, which wouldn't be, well, you're welcome obviously to stay for the whole meeting, but you probably don't want to. So, okay, I think we're ready to go, unless there's any other problems. So the first item is to receive apologies from absence. We are a bit thin on the ground this morning. So I believe we've got apologies from Virginia, from Nigel and Angie. Okay, and I don't believe there are any others. Item 2, the minutes to approve is a correct record, the minutes of meeting held 6th September. They proposed by Richard, seconded by Lucy. I presume we are all in favour. Yes. Okay, item 3, public questions and statements. I have, first of all, Gary Bull, you wish to speak to us. Do you want to come and use a microphone? And that just enables, obviously, people listening on YouTube to be able to hear as well.
Okay, good morning. Thanks very much, Chair, for allowing us to speak. I'm just here to represent North Walsham Town Council as Chair of North Walsham Town Council regarding the Cedars. Obviously, we've always tried to work closely with District over the building and everything that's been going on in North Walsham. And I had envisaged that hopefully we would, as a council, move back into Cedars as a hub, a civic hub, community hub in the town. And I believe that's what, and the council believed that is what was inferred when all the has works and everything was started. Obviously, recently we've heard that there may be other interests that we do not believe as a town council are compatible with ours, not because of the business. I have absolutely no problem at all with being a real ale drinker. I have absolutely no problem at all with that sort of stuff. It's purely the perception and the fact that it's really not suitable for us to take up a rental or a place within the Cedars if it was not a civic hub and used as a commercial business, as one of the proposals is in the pack that I've read. I mean, furthermore to that, I know it's not directly linked, but I believe council should know, we have put a bid in for the barns as well to renovate and do that, but that was purely got through our council with a considerable amount of money we would look at spending towards it, on the fact that we would be in the Cedars and it is right next to where we would like to be and use as a hub and use as an information office, etc. The perception of the town, and as I said there before, the work that was going to be carried out was that that would be a civic hub and we would be long-term tenants, steady for you, a certain set income stream. And we've agreed, if possible, we originally said we'd go on the second floor because the ground floor was fully booked. However, since we've restructured and reduced our staff, we can go downstairs, which we would do quite happily to accommodate and be helpful and useful. And that you could then have the second floor in its entirety. The reasons it's not suitable for us is obviously the ablutions, etc. shared. We have duty of care to our staff during safety, etc. And the business that's proposed there just does not fit, in our opinion, with that sort of standing. I can just see the headlines now. The council is held in a pub. And that's it. Thank you very much, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Gary. Okay, next I have, forgive me, I can't quite read this. Is it Jane Martin? Morton, I do apologise. Thank you, Jane.
Good morning, members of the council. Myself and my colleagues would like to thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak to you all today. We especially welcome the chance to share our vision for the Cedars with you face to face. We know you've all been briefed and considered our proposal at great length. Again, thank you. Today, my colleagues and I wanted to highlight particularly our vision that our pub will be a pub for our community. As one of 4 investors and directors, we all live and work in North Walsham. We have varied backgrounds, health, education, industry and business. Despite our differing backdrops, we are totally at one with our vision of this being a pub for our community. We truly believe that this pub will enhance the current regeneration of North Walsham. Our main objective is to provide an inclusive, safe, comfortable, welcoming haven for our community. A sanctuary to those that want to feel a sense of belonging, to experience acceptance, a place which will help to counteract social isolation by encouraging and facilitating social interaction. Our aim is to deliver quality products at all times, and we feel this demonstrates to our patrons how we value them and our community. The real ale we will serve will be from local breweries, gins, spirits, wines. Non-alcoholic beverages will also be sourced from local regional companies where possible, thereby endeavouring to keep our carbon footprint to a minimum. We feel very strongly that supporting local is a fundamental part of our identity. As directors and investors, our priority will also be to our staff. We will try where possible to employ local people. We will invest in their development. Already this can be demonstrated by our proposed employment of a manager who's recently won Regional Pub of the Year. His knowledge and expertise is exceptional, and he is passionate about investing in staff. We want staff to feel that they are part of this journey and are valued too. We strongly believe if we enable and foster this ethos by instigating a caring, nurturing and pastoral philosophy, this in turn will be extended from our staff towards our patrons and our community. Not only do we want returning patrons, but we want to facilitate a workforce who want to work for us, with us, and also have the odd pint or two. Our vision also includes our wish to be part of local pubs within the town. We want to work together with them to give the people of North Walsham, the local community and visitors a great experience. We believe that this proposal of a pub at the top end of town will be a flagship for North Walsham. We believe we can offer our town and community an exceptional experience, and we as directors are not only investing money, but we are investors in people, staff and community. We believe fundamentally our community will see the value of this endeavour and are deserving of this. Can we thank you all again for your consideration and taking the time to listen today.
Thank you, Jane. Okay, so I have no further public speakers, but if we can get through a couple more of the procedural sort of items, and then we'll deal with item 12 in place of item 7 and then move forward as originally planned. So there are no items of urgent business. Are there declarations of interest from Lucy?
Obviously non-pecuniary, but I just want to make everybody aware that I have had conversations and spoken to through approach and of being approached in my role as County Council for North Walsham East, each of the people and groups that have put the proposals forward for Cedars. Just want everybody to know and be completely transparent that I've spoken in various roles to everybody.
Okay, thank you. Eric?
Given the nature of the business proposal, or one of them in front of us, it's an opportunity interest, but I'm a long-standing member of the campaign for Real Ale Camera.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Any others? No? Okay, member questions. Christopher, Nigel, you're welcome this morning. I presume you don't want to say anything at this stage. You're very welcome to. Okay, brilliant. Right, we'll deal with item 12 now then. That's the future letting of the Cedars North Walsham. And that is all the way at the back of the agenda at page 67 to 94. Give me a second. Okay, so in introducing the paper, obviously Neil's not present today. I don't know if Renata or Eric, if either of you want to fire away, go ahead, sorry.
Right. Okay, well, thank you very much, Chairman. First of all, I would like to thank two speakers this morning for their presentations. They show a confidence in and a commitment to North Walsham, which is what the Heritage Action Zone and the other infrastructure projects are designed to bring about. And I have to say that the vision that's been set out to us this morning around the Micro Real Ale Pub has much to commend it, and I don't disagree with anything that Jane Morton said. However, the two speakers do bring different perspectives on how the Cedars building should be used in future, and that is the central issue that the Cabinet faces today. After around a year of marketing the Cedars, the Council has received 3 confirmed interests from public community bodies in the town and just 1 private sector interest, namely the Micropub. The public sector bids will occupy around 60% of the building and the pub just under a half. The public sector bids, given the nature of the public services they provide, do not wish to be in a building that has a common entrance with and is in close proximity to a pub. In blunt terms, you can have a pub occupying a large part of the ground floor, but no public community bodies and vacant space on the first floor. Or you can have public community bodies, but no micropub. Quite simply, you cannot have both. This is not a particularly viable situation for this council to be faced with. However, there is also a need, once the building is refurbished, for it to be occupied and not left empty. There is also a further problem which has arisen. The Citizens Advice Bureau in North Walsham provide a valued service, and it's the only permanent physical presence they have in the district. They need to move from their current site as they require bigger accommodation and want to provide a better customer-facing service. In the current challenging economic and social environment, we cannot afford to lose the Citizens Advice Bureau service in North Walsham because its current facilities are inadequate. Further, the Town Council has to leave its current home in King's Arms Street as the building does not comply with energy efficiency regulations. Indeed, Chairman, it seems only a short while since they moved there in 2016, and the Town Council needs a secure and permanent home. It provides important local services in the town, parks, cemeteries, birch cutting, markets, and much more. Further, we have heard from the Mayor this morning of their interest and willingness to invest in a further part of the Cedars site to provide potentially a heritage centre. Whilst I cannot disclose the identity of the third public sector interest, I am aware that the current site does not provide a secure long-term future. And if they cannot move to the Cedars, then there is again a risk of the service they offer being lost to the town. It is for these reasons that there are the recommendations which are before the Cabinet today for the Cedars to become a civic hub. In essence, the town cannot afford to lose the public and community services that the 3 public bodies provide. They add to the quality of life and public well-being in the town. They also provide or potentially provide a secure income for the council and the running of the Cedars building. There is also a further proposal that the council wants to pursue. The Cedars is an historic building in the town that was bequeathed to the Urban District Council that preceded this council and which transferred it to North Norfolk under local government reorganisation in 1974. It was owned for many years by the Smith family, who played a positive role in the development of the town in the early part of the last century. The council now wishes to hand back much of the management and running of the building to the town. It will require further discussion, and we shall have to see what transpires. The aim, however, is clear. It is about passing the Cedars back to the local community. So on that basis, Chairman, that I move the recommendations that are set out in the report before us today.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Further indications? Okay, well, in that case, I'm happy to second the recommendations that have been proposed by Eric. can we have a vote in favour, please? All in favour, thank you. Okay, that concludes that item. Very much quicker than I was expecting, to be honest with you. So if we move back then to item 7, which is recommendations from Overview and Scrutiny Committee. And there are the 5 recommendations there. I don't know if there's anything, Nigel, you want to say on this?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Can I just pause and say thank you for everyone for joining us today? Thank you. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I won't go through the list of recommendations, but there's just probably one comment that I ought to just add to what you have before you, and that's really is to pick up on the presentation that we had from Professor Hilber regarding second homes and holiday lets. And I think there are some very pertinent points that emerged from that presentation that need to be taken into account when you consider these recommendations. The points that kind of come to mind are that we shouldn't be of the mind that there is a single silver bullet that will solve this problem. It will require multiple, I think, inputs yet to be defined, and whatever we do needs to be based on, if you like, the targeting of evidence that we've got that a response along those lines or an intervention along those lines might be effective, and probably done by relatively small increments with feedback loops so that you can see whether those interventions are having the desired effect or not. One thing that certainly came out from that presentation was that the subject was extremely complex. It's certainly not one that's North Norfolk centric. And so we are a part, I think, of a much bigger community. That doesn't mean to say that the solutions that you see elsewhere are appropriate here. I do believe that there are very significant localized factors that are at play. So I think the recommendations from Overview and Scrutiny were obviously made before those before that presentation. But I think had the presentation been made before then several of those points would have been echoed within those recommendations. That's all I wish to say, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Nigel. Just to echo the point, I think it was also very interesting to learn from international experience on this topic as well. As you say, it's certainly not central to North Norfolk, but not even the UK. It was very interesting to hear about the perspectives from elsewhere as well. Anything else on Overview and Scrutiny recommendations? No? Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Item 8 is tackling empty homes, and Wendy, I don't know if there's anything you want to say to lead us off, or
Thank you, Chair. I think it's very self-explanatory that what we're aiming for is to use the part of the homeless prevention grant to fund a temporary post for an officer to identify and tackle empty homes in the district. This could bring about bringing homes back into use for hopefully temporary accommodation or actually for market use, and should prove cost neutral with the added benefits of the council tax revenue or the business rate revenue coming back. So I'm happy to take questions. The officers are present.
anything you want to say at this stage?
I'm just going to add that the focus of the work of the post is on the revenue side of empty homes, The number of empty homes in North Norfolk is relatively low. It's below the national average and below 1%. And most of those empty homes are empty for what we call long-term, over 6 months, but not what I would consider long-term. So most of them are sort of between 6 months and 2 years. That means the focus is on trying to deal with those relatively quickly and trying to make sure they are recorded as the right status. So there's no confusion between empty homes, second homes, delisted homes. And by being recorded properly, they are also being charged correctly. And as Wendy says, that our aim, which will be monitored during the period of the 12 months of this post, is to make sure that it is revenue neutral, that it raises additional income that covers its own costs, but that will come out when we are monitoring it through the course of the 12 months.
Thank you, Nikki. That's very helpful. Well, I'm absolutely certain this is the right direction to go in. It's something I've wanted to see us consider doing for a while. So, so pleased to see this this come forward and proposed by officers. So thank you again for the work that you put into this. And was there any other indications? Sorry. Go ahead, Christopher.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Following up on Debbie Nikki, sorry, just said, are you going to have any specific targets around this? Because I think if you're going to employ somebody, the cost down here is a reasonable cost to employ that individual to do that. So if it were me, I'd want to see some specific measures as you can judge at the end of the 12 months whether it's been worthwhile or not.
I'm not sure I'd call them targets because I think we need to assess how effective the post can be, but certainly the monitoring will be around the status changes of properties. So, for example, how many delisted properties are brought back into council tax banding, how many second or holiday homes are changed to empty homes, and how many occupied homes are changed to empty homes. So each of the categories, how many changes and what that results in revenue. I think it is reasonable to set some targets after we've been monitoring for a period of time, but I think ahead of starting the post, targets would be tricky. But I think it would be reasonable in the first 6 months to then change monitoring to targets, yes.
Thank you, Nikki. I think that's...
The point I guess I'm making is how do you know that wouldn't have happened anyway if you hadn't had the post in situ? Because as you said, there's obviously sounds like there's a churn of properties which could come back into use. That's what I want to try and get my.
I'm trying to avoid cynicism, but the churn tends to be in one direction, which is that homes go to what is the lowest charge. It is rare we have homes coming back from delisting without active work with them. We will be able to compare what has happened in previous years and see what the differences are between those numbers. But yeah, hopefully that makes sense.
Thank you. Okay. Any other indications? Was there a proposal? Was that Wendy? I'm happy to second. All of those in favour, presumably. Thank you again. Item 9 is Eco4Flex. And again, Wendy, I don't know if there's something you can say to introduce this.
Thank you, Chair. It's me again. So Ecoflex 4 is an initiative from Ofgem to target the energy companies directly to provide insulation to low-income households in the UK. So we're asked to adopt a policy around this now that Ofgem have finally released the legislation, and there are a number of ways of applying for this, and that will be helped along by our energy officer. You can apply also to direct to your energy company, and also installers can apply if they get approached by a resident. So I'd like to move this forward. Again, our officers are present for any questions.
Okay. Anything either of you want to say at this stage? You happy to? No. Thank you, Graham. Yeah. Were there any questions? No. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Wendy's proposal. Richard has seconded. And vote for all of those in favour, please. Eric, are you happy to vote in favour as well? Thank you. No problem. Yes, that's unanimous. Thank you. Item 10. Thank you again, Graham. Item 10 is council tax discounts. And Eric, if you can introduce us.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, there's a series of recommendations in the agenda item 10 in relation to council tax discounts for 23-24, and I move those recommendations. In doing so, I just want to draw the Cabinet's attention today to two of those recommendations. One of the recommendations, which is encompassed in recommendation 1, is that the council are proposing from April next year that where properties which cannot be lived in are being repaired to make them habitable again, they should receive a 50% discount on their council tax bills. The repairs must be completed within 9 months to avoid delays. And for a Band D council tax property, this will mean a council tax reduction at current rates for a full year of around £980, or probably slightly less as it's 9 months. So we're probably talking about just over £700. Whether such council tax discounts are offered is a decision for the district council. The discount was abolished in April 2017 by the previous administration. And as a result, and as reflected in the report, the number of uninhabitable properties being repaired fell considerably. We now wish to reintroduce the discount again to help owners bring empty homes back into use. And the experience suggests when the discount did exist that this will happen. I therefore move that particular recommendation. Now, the second one I wish to just add something about relates to recommendation 5 and the second homes premium. In the Levelling Up and Regeneration Bill that is currently before Parliament, there is a proposal for local authorities to have the power to charge a 100% council tax premium or double council tax on second homes. If royal assent is received, then it is expected that this will be at the end of March 2023. As set out in the report, if the council is to apply such a premium, a determination has to be made at least 1 year before the beginning of the financial year to which it relates. Therefore, if the council wishes to introduce such a premium, it has to do so soon. Hence a recommendation in number 5. There are around 4,500 second homes in North Norfolk. Whilst it can be shown to bring some benefits, it is clear that persons or families on North Norfolk incomes can often no longer afford to buy or rent properties in an area where there exists a strong and continuing demand for second homes. Quite simply, the property prices are too high. They're priced out of the market. The council wishes to take measures to help residents in this situation. A council tax premium on second homes could raise funds, provided they are ring-fenced for affordable housing for local people so that they can continue to live in all our towns and villages. No decision has yet been made on the level of the premium and precisely to which properties or areas it will apply. We have to wait for the final legislation to be approved before we can determine that. If this premium is to be levied, then it has to be on one condition, it seems to me. As the housing authority in North Norfolk, we have to keep most of the extra council tax. We cannot allow nearly 90% to go to the county council and the police authority, with less than 10% staying in North Norfolk. This will have to be negotiated. There is, however, a real prize. A full levy of 100% council tax premium, or the doubling of council tax on second homes, is estimated to raise £8.2 million per year. That may not be possible. However, even if half that sum, say 4 million, was raised, that would go a long way to a sustained programme of affordable housing. Local people could afford housing in North Norfolk, and our housing waiting lists would be significantly reduced. I move the recommendations.
And it's been very interesting to see that sort of growth in number of people trying to renovate properties contact us as councillors struggling to get them completed due to lack of workmen, costs of materials, etc. So certainly welcome that, and welcome also what you were saying about the second homes council tax, whether I can call it that again. You know, certainly a concern that as it seems currently, most of the revenue would be benefiting the police authority and the county council, which arguably aren't the authorities facing the impacts and certainly not the housing burdens. So it would make absolute sense to see what you are saying come to reality, and I surely hope it does. Lucy, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add a little bit to the argument that we should retain the money as the housing authority. Of all the conversations that we've had recently in different areas, county council and within our NHS teams, housing is the biggest thing that everybody's concerned about, because without housing you don't bring stability, and without stability people can't recover, flourish and grow. So when we look at the domestic violence and domestic abuse responsibility that the county council has got now, housing forms part of that. When we look at the care leavers and what the move on for care leavers is beyond care, housing is part of that as well. When we look at the social care changes and the move to have more care at home or in homes rather than having big units of people living together, that's county council and that would fall to us as a housing authority. But even with the NHS, I recently attended the launch of the psychosis rehabilitation team, and mental health can only be improved with stability, and that comes with housing. So I do completely agree that if we can push and influence that we should be retaining this money, we absolutely should be, because we are facing a housing crisis as a local authority.
Thank you, Lucy. Nigel, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess my comments come back to really what I said earlier on. And in the context of the 100% premium, there seems to me to be two possible objectives here. One is the objective of exercising some kind of control intervention with regard to the second homes and holiday lets. And then there's the second, perhaps, issue, which is what happens to the money that's collected. And I think that there needs to be some thought given to what is the purpose of this. And even if you can't achieve both purposes, does the achievement of one purpose merit the premium being levied? So I think there are some discussions to be had, and I think those discussions need to be had within that framework of what Professor Hilber had to say. But I do think that we need to be very clear, as I said, those two, I see those as two kind of objectives that you might want to achieve. One of them I would suggest is the primary objective, which is pretty much where this subject started, i.e. concern over second homes and holiday lets. And then the other matter may be resolved by, I don't know, other means. But I take the point that you make that's being made in the chamber today, but I would suggest that there is, as I said, some clarity around precisely what you want to achieve and how you want to achieve it.
Thank you, Nigel. I think that's helpful. Okay, I suppose the other unknown is to what extent, if any, towns and town parish councils benefit from any increased revenue. I gather they 1 to 3% of the overall pot at the moment. Whether any individual parishes or what that would like, it's certainly a discussion to be had around that. I would say I'm not sure it's being talked about at all in the levelling up bill or anywhere else. So certainly something we need to keep an eye on. I'm sure will be a concern to the communities that have other impacts, of course, from second homes, and we will obviously seek to have that discussion in the most appropriate places. Were there any other indications? Christopher, go ahead.
Just wonder what your view would be if the government don't agree to district councils keeping the 100% of the extra premium.
Well, I think, you know, I've said there, I think there's certainly a case for towns and parishes. I don't see that the police face any additional burdens whatsoever as a result of second homes. If there are, it certainly hasn't been argued. So I don't see why they would necessarily see an additional pot of money. I think one thing I would say about Norfolk Constabulary, I think things have been moving in the right direction in recent years, and funding certainly is been moving in the right direction. That we're not sort of seeing the sort of shortages in capabilities. Of course, you know, we'd always want to see more, but that's just my own perspective. You know, there's certainly growth in different sorts of crime, online crime, etc. But it's very hard to connect the two, I would certainly suggest. In terms of the county council, I don't see a strong connection between second homes and the county council's roles. I have had second home owners argue that while they shouldn't have to contribute towards schools and other county council services. But of course, you know, we sometimes would say that the overall impact of second homes is less funding towards these services. So it's I can understand why the county council, particularly in their current funding situation, might want to see some additional revenue, but we haven't had any such conversation with the county council. Yeah. And certainly in years previously, there were discussions between town and parishes, the district and the county on the then term second homes council tax, which were interesting, but sort of no relation to the current situation, really. Eric, go ahead.
Yes, I mean, until we see the final shape of the legislation, it's difficult to quite know how this is going to pan out. There could be a legislative change so that the money is ring fenced for housing with the housing authority, but it doesn't have to be a legislative change. There could be a negotiation between the county council and the district councils about the level of this premium and who gets what. And of course, that was done previously with the local strategic partnerships and with the start of the Big Society Fund, where some of the money which the county council received from second homes actually came back to the district. So that's, again, is possible, and it might be something that's negotiated by all districts or those that are particularly affected by second homes. So we'll have to see how it goes, but there's going to need to be, as I alluded when I was introducing it, discussions and negotiations. Clearly, if the county council want it, need the money and they want some of the funding, then it's entirely at our discretion as to whether we raise it or we don't raise it. So hence, they have a reason that they might want to have a discussion with us about it. In terms of the clarity of the premium, if there was a premium, I think it would certainly slow the growth of second homes. That can be helpful. I don't think it, and certainly the study that's been done for the council, it will not reduce the prices. But if it slows the growth, that can only ease the situation. And the purpose, if the premium was ring fenced for affordable housing, then that funding could be used to purchase land for housing associations and trusts, and could also contribute to their construction costs. As my understanding, the biggest difficulty that housing trusts and associations have at the moment is the cost of land and even finding the land. So that's what needs to help. And as Andrew Brown with the planning portfolio would tell me sitting next to me, if it's affordable or social housing, well then of course it comes within the exemption site provisions, and you can actually build in villages where you normally wouldn't be able to. So that's the kind of thinking where we are at the moment, but we'll just have to see what transpires.
Clearly, Nigel, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I just really want to say that Councillor Seawood has put his finger on one of the opportunities that I was alluding to, really, and that was the possibility of negotiating more locally about what can be achieved by the redistribution of that money. And I think that there is some work that could be done there out with legislation, national legislation. So I do think that there are opportunities there for further exploration.
I just hope that we get the fairest possible outcome with the legislation, because I think that would be the best opportunity for Norfolk from the outset. Besides housing, of course, it's our main focus. Of course, as a district, I think it's possibly the biggest strain we see at the moment on services is lack of housing in this district. But of course, some communities would say they see other impacts of second homes, which we might as well want to consider in time. For instance, viability of shops. Certain communities would want to see community shops, etc. There are other sorts of things that in time we might want to have a conversation about if it was possible. Was there anything else?
I just want to echo Eric's sentiment about land, buying land, and how difficult it is at the moment to actually develop and to build housing. We've been nobbled by this nutrient neutrality clause since the 16th of March, and that has stopped affordable housing coming forward. And in that time, the prices have risen with materials. We're looking at inflationary costs unimaginably rising. We're looking at interest rates rising. Are developers going to be interested in building houses where people can't actually achieve a mortgage to buy these places? We're absolutely completely nobbled by government at the moment for bringing forward any development in North Norfolk. We need desperate help now. We need people to come forward with land with a social conscience that says, yeah, I want to see the growth of North Norfolk. A lot of second home owners I know contribute greatly to the community, but what second homes and holiday lets do is they take the stock from the housing, from the housing from the stock that we have in North Norfolk, and we can't replace that quick enough.
Absolutely.
So anything we can do to replace those houses, to make a more viable development, to bring forward affordable housing, is a great thing, and it needs to be done now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yes, you're absolutely correct indeed. Steve, you indicated.
Thank you, Chair. The decision in front of you this morning is one for Cabinet as a recommendation to full council. So the debate you've had and the comments made by Councillors Cushing and Dixon inform that decision, but it is a recommendation from Cabinet to full council. So there is an opportunity beyond today for some of those conversations to be had if that was considered appropriate, but you don't have the power to resolve today. It is a recommendation, and that will go to full council on the 23rd of November, and will then inform the assessment of the council tax preparation, budget preparation for February of next year. The legislative changes that are referred to would come into effect subject to legislation passing through Parliament on the 1st of April 2024.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, Eric, are you happy to make the recommendations?
I'll simply move the recommendations and on to full council.
I'm happy to second that. And all of those in favour? Yeah, unanimous. Thank you again. Okay, item 11 is the transfer of public open space at Stalham. Sorry, Renata, we've kept you waiting till the end. And I don't know if either one of you want to lead on this topic.
Well, yeah, let Renata there, you can go.
Thank you. So this report details a proposal to transfer public open space at Stalham, along with the commuted sum to the town council, who we feel would be really well placed to manage the amenity land for the future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Seems very nice and straightforward to me. Eric? go
Yeah,
ahead.
I mean, I would advise both local members have been consulted. They both agree. The town council is agreeable. So on that basis, I move the recommendations.
Richard? Okay, thank you. Just before, I don't know if Nigel, there's anything you want to say as a, no, you're not local member, but you're county member for the area? Okay. No? Okay, well, if we take a vote of all of those in favour, please, and that's unanimous again. Thank you. There being no private business, there's no reason to exclude the press and public. So thank you for your time this morning, and we will see.